What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the final episode of Road to Platinum for A King's Tale Final Fantasy 15, and this is the last trophy where we have to complete all the challenges in each dream battle, all 25 of them. And the reason why it's so long is because this video has all 25 battles with the challenges completed. So if you look at the time description below, I will be explaining each challenge and how to do it, give you some tips and tricks, and hopefully you guys can complete these as well. So the very first one, Dream Battle number 1. This is just don't use any magic, complete it. You can take damage, it doesn't matter. I hope you guys enjoy watching this series. I'll be doing the PS Plus game soon, so stay tuned for that. Leave a like, comment. This took a pretty good amount of time editing, so thank you for watching. We will see you guys in the next episode. Moving on to the second battle, activating Sid in the battle 3 or more times, so that is the square and triangle combination. And when you attack enough combos, you can see on the bottom right hand corner, it'll light up and it gives you the ability to use the triangle and square together. Use it 3 times throughout this fight, and then you'll get the challenge completed. So for the third battle, defeat 3 or more enemies using a single armature. So the best way to do this is to build up your combo so you can use your companions. And what you want to do is use all 3 of them. So first do the triangle, square, or whatever, then the square, X, and then the triangle, circle. And once you complete one, you'll see this icon on the top of them that shows that you have used it. After you have the symbol above all 3 of your companions, then you press L1 to use the armature. So as you can see now, on the first, I used the first companion, and then I need to use the second. And if at any point you get hit, like this, then you'll lose it. You have to start over with the 3 companions and build up your combo again. So basically you need to build a combo, use all 3 companions, and then press L1. So this is the 4th battle where we have to complete the battle without using any companions. So that is the bottom right hand corner, those 3 characters. You can use magic throughout this. And also in this level, I got 2 trophies unlocked. This was very early on when I was just starting to play the game, or just starting to play the dream battles. So shortly after the story mode, I got the Fallen Army trophy, which is defeating 1,000 enemies, I think. And then also this, I forgot what it's called, but this needle trophy where the cactuses and the bees that shoot the needles or the stingers at you, you have to press circle or the cyclone technique to deflect it, and then it'll go back to them and hit them. So you need to do that like 50 times, and I got it, the trophy in this particular level. So this is the 5th battle. This is pretty straightforward, using every single magic type and every single companion. So companion are the bottom right hand corner. You have to build enough combo to activate them. You don't have to use all 3 without getting hit, so it's okay. And then in terms of the magic, is the fire, lightning, and ice. So after you use all 3 of them, all 3 of the ice magic, all 3 of the magic, and then all 3 of the companions, just fight until you finish the fight, and you'll unlock the challenge. Moving on to the 6th battle, this is finish the fight without taking any damage. So the trick here is to just run around the map without killing anything. But for sure you want to use the bomb, get rid of it, and also get rid of the bees. Because the bees keep shooting things at you, the bomb will just come and annoy you. So just like press circle on them and then it'll deflect that bomb to someone else, but then generally they won't die. Kill the bee, and then you're left with 4 of these Ronins and 1 of those Flans, and basically you can just run around the map. After 4 minutes is up, the middle glowing statue thing, you can press hold square and you activate and you finish the battle. So this is how you survive without taking any damage, because if you keep attacking these people, more are gonna spawn, and it's basically infinite spawn, and then harder enemies will spawn as well. So for the 7th battle, this is performing 10 aerial smashes. And in order to do an aerial smash, you must first do a Rising Fury. So Rising Fury is square, square, triangle, and just be slow with the timing of pressing the buttons. And the best enemies to use Rising Fury on are those lamp people after you take out their lantern, because they're pretty slow, and the Ronins. So after you do the Rising Fury, when the enemy is up in the air, you want to press square, square, triangle again. On the screen, it's gonna sort of like smash down and then also say aerial smash on your screen. So you have to do that 10 times throughout this battle. I think I do it here. Yeah, so you see Rising Fury and then aerial smash. Sometimes you gotta, it's hard to get the timing right, but that's the second time. And overall, I didn't really count how many times. Even though the stone was glowing near the end, I just kept trying to do a few more times just in case if I don't get 10. But you should definitely keep an eye out how many times you've done it, so you don't have to like waste extra time. So for Dream Battle number 8, this is dispatching 10 or more enemies with fire, and dispatch basically just means kill. Fire is your fire magic, and that's pretty straightforward. The more you kill Flans and Ronins, sometimes they drop those MPs that you can pick up. So I suggest using 2 or 3 bars to damage the map, because on the map there are some oil things that light up this fire, and then if you guide the flans there, they'll get damaged, or anyone that steps on it will get damaged. So that's also good. And also 2 bars of fire like Fira and Firaga, it basically spreads across the whole map, and you can you know, use a bigger area of damage effect to take out enemies. But 10 enemies is more than enough throughout the game or throughout this level, so I don't think you're gonna have any issue if you just keep using fire, the magic. battle number 9, this is performing 10 aerial bashes. So this is similar to the aerial smash, but instead of using square square triangle, you do square square circle when you do a Rising Fury. So at the very beginning, if you paid close attention, I actually did one right at the very beginning. So it's Rising Fury, square square triangle, and then when the enemy is in the air, you do square square circle. When you fight the red samurai people, the Ronins, you have to use triangle to break their defense or stun them, and then when they're on the ground, then it's easier to do Rising Fury on them. So after you perform 10 of those, like that, aerial bash, then you'll unlock this challenge. For the 10th Dream Battle, you have to freeze 20 or more enemies with your ice magic. This is really straightforward because when you use your ice magic, it basically freezes a lot of people. I suggest using the 2-bar Frieza or something, or Friezaga, whatever it's called. And then it basically spans the entire map and it freezes everything in the surrounding. So just do 20. It's really hard to tell, so I'll just try to, every time you have magic available to you, just use the ice to freeze people. And at the end of this, you should be able to get it. So Dream Battle number 10 is pretty straightforward. Build enough combos so you can activate your companions, and just keep track how many times you did it for each person. So I would start off with the first guy, build enough combos, use him 3 times, and then move on to the second one, and then move on to the third one. This is pretty straightforward. Just try not to get damaged when you're doing this, so you don't have to lose your combo or you have to rebuild it if you get hit. The most annoying enemies are those stupid cactuses. So every time they like shoot the thing at you, try to like return the damage back to them. But this one is pretty straightforward. So Dream Battle number 12, I forgot to show the very beginning what you have to do, but you have to extinguish 5 lamps. So how do you extinguish 5 lamps? It's to use the ice attack on the, the people who are carrying the lantern. I forgot what they're called. Tobermory or something? But if you use the ice magic on them, they'll lose their light and then they can't slow you anymore. So that's a really good strategy when you're facing those things, because if you get too near, it slows you down and it's hard to roll away, and then they're like one sword hit you, you're insta dead. So I hate those things and it's super annoying. I always take care of them first. But 5 lamps is it's really easy if you use this technique throughout the story level. So Dream Battle number 13 requires you to use a shield bash kind of thing on these shield stun on these snakes. So just go up behind them and press triangle, triangle, circle, and you'll do a shield stun that allows you to delay them from going back into the ground, and you can do like a couple more attacks on them. It's really hard to like one hit kill or one combo kill them, but after you perform 5 of these shield stuns, you will get your challenge completed. Dream Battle 14 is completing the battle without using companions or magic. This is the easiest type of challenge ever because it's totally my style because I don't use anything. And these big sort of giant looking enemies, it's best if you kill one at a time and make sure they're spread apart. If they're two together, it's super annoying because you can't really roll back to the other side to attack them. So one strategy that you guys can use in your other playthroughs is just stun them with the ice, but in this case it's hard, so you have to try to draw one farther away from the other. But it's good that if you kill them, sometimes they drop the chicken where you can recover your HP, so that's also good. So for Dream Battle 15, this is called Quick Mix, and this Dream Battle specifically, I unlocked the I Dream of Awesome and Light Sleeper trophy, which is not taking any damage throughout the level and also finishing the level under 1 minute. Unfortunately, I didn't get the challenge done, so you'll see the challenge part in the next little clip after this one. But I don't know, I wasn't really concentrating on getting this under a minute, because I didn't know this was the level to do it on, because it's the shortest. But if you see Flans, use magic on them. And yeah, practice a few more times. I got it on my first try, so I don't think this one is particularly difficult. But I guess if you want the less than 1 minute per battle, then I think this one would be the one to do it on. So in Dream Battle number 15, you have to defeat 3 or more enemies with a single armature. So again, this is the same type of challenge as a previous one, where you have to build up your combo, use it on the first, use your first companion, build up another combo, use your second companion, build enough combo for your third. If at any point you get hit, then you have to start over. Then you press L1 to activate your armature, and that's pretty much it for this challenge. Moving on to number 16, the battle. This is actually the last battle that I chose to do, just because you have to survive without taking any damage. It might take a few tries because it might get kind of annoying. So for big groups, I like to use square and X, and then try to get damage everyone. Try not to be in the middle. Try to put all enemies on one side. For these Ronins, use the triangle heavy slash to attack them. And for the skeletons, I suggest using the cyclones against them. If you have a large group like this, try to move around the map, try to get, again, the enemies on one side, try to isolate people so there's nothing around you, try to kill them as fast as possible. And when the Malboro, or the green, sort of ugly looking thing comes out, prioritize those first, because they use those poison gas and it might screw you up. So give this a few tries. It's not particularly difficult because these enemies are pretty slow, but yeah, it might take a few tries. Make use of your armature and your companions, and you should be good. So battle number 17 is dispatching 15 or more Ronins with bomb detonations. What that means is kill 15 Ronins with the bombs. So the bombs, when you just push them away with circle, it'll go to an enemy, but then because their power is not as high, it's really hard to kill. So you would have to damage some of the Ronins first, and then attack your firebomb a few times, and then let it explode. Then it'll kill like a big group. So usually, so here I try to see who has more health. I hit it down, and then the bombs that spawn are limited. So right now what happens is I actually have to kill a few people until the next wave of spawns. So now I have 5 bombs to use. So I'm trying to attack the Ronins first before they explode. It might take a few tries, but when you see a lot of firebombs together near the enemies, then attack them a few times and then just knock them into each other to try to form like an explosion. It might take a couple of tries, but for me it just took 1 try having this mindset, and it worked out in the end. So for battle 18, basically had to finish the level without suffering any status effects. Status effects only occur when the Marlboro, the green looking circular things, they sort of barf out some gas at you, and basically if you prioritize killing those first, then you won't even have to worry about the status effects. So for battle number 19, you're gonna encounter these large sort of rushing antler elephant looking things, and you have to kill 3 of them. So you can use the ice magic to slow them down. You can, just attack them. You can use your armature, you can use your companions. Just make sure you kill 3 of them, and you're pretty much set to go. So we're at Dream Battle number 20. This is just completing the battle without using companions. So you can use magic, you can use normal attack, just don't use companions. Pretty straightforward if you use all those tips I gave you in the story levels, prioritizing certain enemies. You'll basically know by this point how to defeat most of the enemies, like the best way to do it. And yeah, just complete the battle without using companions. So for Dream Battle number 21, this is similar to a previous challenge where you have to kill those large elephant looking things, and this time you have to kill 6 of them. So again, you can ice them, slow them down, and then use your armature or use your companions or just purely attack them before they run away, and it's pretty easy. You can count how many you can kill, how many you've killed, and you just need to kill 6. So moving on to Dream Battle number 22, this is just don't use any magic. You're gonna be so tempted to use magic in this level because you see so many flans, but you can actually attack them. When they're large, they're gonna turn to 2, and then when they're 2, they just die. So I know this one takes quite a bit of time because they only take 1 damage from your physical attack. Ideally, with the magic attack, you'll kill them a lot easier, but that's not the challenge here. Also, I think there's a trophy associated with using magic to kill more than I don't know how many flans. This would be a good level to do it on. But after you're done this level with just physical attack, then you'll unlock the challenge. So for number 23, I don't really have tips on how to do this challenge, but this challenge is completing the battle under 2 minutes. I wasn't even going for this one and I actually got it, so it's kind of surprising to me. The longest or most time consuming enemies to kill are the cactuses because they just attack you so often, it's really annoying. So push the bomb on them or use some companion stuff to get rid of them. The bombs make it a lot easier to kill things faster, and just, try to do it as fast as possible. So we're at Dream Battle number 24. This is one of my favorite types of challenges. Don't use any magic, don't use any companions, pretty straightforward, just hack and slash. The only downside to this level is you're gonna have those lamp guys, and my strategy usually is to ice them and then kill them. But since there's so many that spawn and I can't ice them all, I basically have to like take a risk going into their zone and hopefully they don't attack me. So when you're attacking them, they're like flinched, so they can't really attack you back. So you can actually kill them without taking out their lantern. The annoying thing though is you're gonna have tons of these needle people that are shooting things at you, so I would suggest attacking those guys first, because if at any point you get damaged while you're fighting the lantern dudes, you might be too slow to react to roll away from their attack, and then you'll be insta-dead, and that's not good. So this is the final dream battle, which requires you to stun 20 enemies with lightning, and you actually have to complete the entire level. So first, this is time consuming. You have to fight the tentacles while keeping in mind how many enemies you have stunned with lightning. I didn't count specifically, but that's 3 already. And then you actually have to finish the fight. The downside about this level is limited MP if you don't fight enough enemies, but the time when you fight more enemies, more harder enemies are going to spawn, so that's the downside. You know, you get to pick and choose what you want to do. But first priority would be to get the 20 stuns, and then worry about the tentacles. I know Flan usually drops MP the most, and then Ronin, so I just try to attack those when I have the time. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye everyone!